Yeah, and actually girls said that you don't have to like follow the recent newest stuff which came up, pop up on Twitter and just jump into it, because not everything of this is like a must. So just feel free to pick up what you want and what fits best for you. But as already someone on Twitter said, render props is kind of a new thing in a React world, which is really cool. It's a kind of a thing of January 2018 of a React community. So when I saw this Twitter like going crazy about it, I asked myself what it is actually. Come on, I don't know. Who knows what is a render prop?
I'll think about it.
Cool. So we have some hands, that's good. Yeah, my answer for this question is I had no idea. And I was going pretty good with hooks, so higher order components, and I was not feeling any pressure to jump into render props. But yeah, but then the cool guy, who's also a known singer in USA, came up with the tweet about "come fight me, I can do everything with render props." So I thought that, okay, it sounds reasonable to think about it. Tell me more, Michael Jackson. And at this moment, I actually started doing a research, and I came up with this talk. So let's start actually talking about render props, not more intro stuff. Oh, I'm Kasia, I'm from Poland. I came here for this talk. Actually, yeah, go Poland. We have yeah, pretty decent developers in there. That's true, Kitse, recently. Okay, so why? Because it's fancy, because it's like it's cut. No, this is not like the main answer for this question. Bigger answer would be the dry, which is don't repeat yourself approach, which is very important in the programming for us as a developer, which is kind of one of the biggest rules when it comes to creating programs. And when it comes to dry and how it actually works in React world, I came up with a more of a cut example. And here's a business guy who said to you as developers, oh, hello Kasia, hello Simona. I want a component which is a cut wearing a jacket. Oh, sweater, sorry, a sweater. And you just created a component which is a cut in sweater. Yeah, it's a pretty cool cut in a sweater. It does the job. It has a sweater. It has like some kind of a functions, methods which are running, doing the pop, using a litter box, stuff like that. And then the business guy said, oh, okay, we have a cut in sweater, but what about dog in sweater? I want a dog in sweater. So you came up with another component, which is a dog in sweater, which has a sweater, has some kind of a method as a cut, but it's a totally different component, right? And then your business people, right? They just came up with another thing, which was a hamster in sweater and a snail in sweater. So you're doing those components and actually asking yourself, oh my God, why I am repeating myself so many times, right? And here comes like an answer. Why, once you create a component, which is a sweater, which can be applicable to all those animals like cat, dog, hamster, whatever. And yeah, and this is a render prop component in general. Not only render prop component, also a higher order component, and years ago mixins, but we forgot about it. And this is kind of a way to don't repeat yourself in React. Other more real-life examples of repeating ourselves is like the way of logging some events, like logging for some debugging purposes, or requesting some data and showing the loader how many times we did it in different components, like the same thing, right? And of course, there are different examples how we can repeat ourselves in React, and there's like a lot of that. Another pretty huge thing which render props or code reusing can solve is a prop drilling. Are you familiar with this term, prop drilling? So, because this is pretty new still, again a Twitter thing. So prop drilling is a thing which came up when you want to pass some props from a really high parent container to a nested component which is really nested, like not even like in my example, even lower. So for example, if you have a router, React router, and React router, sorry, and you're trying to get access to the current location, right? Simple thing. And if you think about it, you have to, without any code reuse components, you have to pass it down from the route to the very nested down component, which will just simply display the location. Yeah, so another cat picture about it, and I really like cats. I'm a cat person. So okay, so we know why it's good to use render prop. You actually do the components which allows us to reuse code. So let's move further. Let's actually answer ourselves what are the render props and components, and as I said, way to reuse code, way to make our code base more more clear. Thank you. So this is an example. I will not point you. There is a pointer, but I'm scared. Oh, there is a pointer. This is the red one.
£9. Just buy one.
Oh, it's not working on the screen. Okay, so I am a poor person from Poland. Come on. So there is a component. There is a component, React component. Shut up. So there is a React component which basically gets the render prop, and then in the render method use the render prop, which is a function, and pass the other props, and of course execute the render method. And that's it. That's how simple it is, and how we can actually jump into doing this pattern really fast, because that's pretty it. I of course have pretty more complex example of using that, which does something, not only like renders, which is something which is inside. But, another question is, of course, how to use it, how to use the render prop component. So it's pretty easy. Maybe it can look odd, and the first question you can have is, inline functions? Someone said to me, or someone wrote on Twitter, that inline functions are like bad. Why do you use inline functions? So, well, have you heard about the premature optimization? It's bad. It's bad. You don't do any optimization before you need it. And this is the thing about inline methods. And actually, the arrow functions which are used there are not that bad. Babel handles it really good. I don't have any data about it, but yeah, I read recently that they improved the inline arrow inline methods in React, and it works really well. So doing here any different kind of methods initialization is like not needed. So how it would look? So we just use our component, my component, which is a render prop component, which gets a property rendered, which is a method, gets some props, and props D here are actually coming from my component. It can be kind of weird at the first point, but then when we use that, it's pretty straightforward. And we are using some dummy component which actually consume the data, and consume the props which are coming from the render prop. What happened? You maybe heard about children prop, which was like a pop-up of February, so like a month later, sorry. After render prop, someone said, "Oh no, render prop are like not that fine, use children prop." And what can I say? It's pretty the same. It's the same pattern, it's just coming to the children prop. So actually, when you take a look on the implementation of children prop, it just takes a children property and then do the same. That's the same. And this is of course the use of the children way of implementing the render prop component. It can look pretty odd because the children prop is not how we used to. It's not a component, it's a method which gets some kind of properties and then return the component inside. Okay, so we are now smart. We know what render props are. We are ready to use it. But when? What are the proper examples, like real life examples, not cutting sweaters? Come on, Kasia. When we can use the render prop and create our own components which do the reusing code pattern. One thing before we go to the code, only if we really need it. Don't jump into patterns which are new, fresh, and exciting just because someone said that it is a good idea to use that. This is kind of an overcomplicating, straight React way of doing things. So if you don't need it, if you don't repeat yourself doing components, don't use it. And this is pretty like a common thing in React world, in front-end world, which happens to change really fast, to not jump into trend just because this is some kind of a trend and you don't fully understand it, because this is how you complicate your code, this is how you get into trouble. And so let's go to the real-life examples. For example, the component which will do some kind of request for you and get some data and then display the data. So we kind of reuse this pattern many times in our components. The difference is how we display the data. So this is a place where render prop can come and fetch for you some kind of data, any data you need. Then maybe display a loader, but if the data is there, display a component which you will pass in the render prop. So this is mostly it. Of course, there is a context thing, which most of the higher order components, which are coming from known libraries like Redux or a React router, they are all using the context API, so keep some data inside and give you a possibility to get to those data from the context in any place you need. So this is kind of a way to fix the prop drilling problem. And of course, reusing any logic you need. And let's go to the simple fetching data. I want to show you just really fast. Oh, I have to. Damn it. No. It's not visible. It's create React app, of course. Yeah. That's a good way to do some stuff. Sorry for that. Okay, it's visible, or for sure it's visible now. So we have our using of our component, which is as we seen recently, which is a my component. This is a render prop component which takes exactly two properties. One is a path to get some data, and another is a render property which return you a component which will consume the data. Consume the data, which means just get some properties and display some stuff. How the render prop looks, because this is like more interesting. So I have, as we seen already, this is like a really simple component which takes a render and path, and then has some state. That's cool. Then in state keeps some data and some loading state, which is true at the beginning. Then uses a lifecycle method, which is also a dope, because higher order components actually have problem with that, and have on the component did mount, which is one of the first lifecycle methods which are executed when the component is there. Render prop component will get the data from the path we were given by the fetch, and when the data is there, set the states and set the loading to false. What it does in next step, it just renders the render property method with the displaying some component we wanted to use, and simply displaying some kind of loading if the data is not there yet. I added some timeout just to show you how it works. Oh no. So yeah, I've used it. It was like pretty fast, but it works. The demo is working. And going back to our stuff, we actually went through all the steps, why, what, and when. So we are smart now, smart code asses, and we are ready to use render prop if they are needed. And here are some really cool examples and really cool articles. And I will, of course, put this presentation later on Twitter, so you will be available to see. Cool Medium articles about render props. And thank you very much. And the repo is also there to check out the render prop component and start using it. Thank you.